Teachers, how did a student get expelled on the first day in school? Not the first day, but within the first month. I was in my freshman year and the day was grade 8 tours day. Take the next batch of freshmen around the high school in tours to show them what to expect. I was in my auto class when the kids came through. The teacher and I never already weren't getting along. He had his favorites who loved cars and I saw him as a douchebag that wanted a free ride on teacher money while having kids fix up cars that he then sold or kept. I was typically shy in freshman year and I wasn't exactly cool. Regardless, all throughout the day kids would be walking in the hall and my classmates would look out the classroom door's window to see them. Typically, it was the teacher's favorite students taking a few minutes to stall what they were doing and just makes faces at the younger kids. It's near the end of the class, and I'm sweeping up. We each had duties we'd swap every week. As I'm sweeping, a few people that were looking out the classroom door start laughing and walk away from it. I'm sweeping and literally still doing my job as I approach the window, so I casually peek, interested in what's so funny. It was literally that fast. From me craning my neck to look, and my hand still making the sweep motion, I suddenly hear, "What are you doing?" I jump and turn around with everyone else thinking someone is playing with a blowtorch or jumping on the car, but the teacher is staring at me. Totally confused, I just say, "I was sweep. Why are you looking out that window?" I was confused and stunned. Everyone was looking at me. All day I had not looked out that damn thing, whereas every other student had. It was like 15 minutes till the end of class and he's giving me flack for looking out the window? I thought he was kidding. I was just sweeping up and glanced out the window. I reply, still confused. Now everyone is staring and whispering. My friends in their seats are just as puzzled as me. Did I say you could look out that window? Is something so interesting that you feel the need to look out that window and disregard your job? Is my class too boring for you? Is that it? He is in full rage mode. Unusual since he typically only sits behind his desk and reads the newspaper or plays games on his laptop, while us kids do our assignments or work on his car. I was just stunned and couldn't understand his anger, so I mumbled out, "No, I was just." He cuts me off with, "Yeah, you were just. Sit down and pack up. Why can't you do anything right in this class?" Still flabbergasted, I lean the broom against the wall and sit at my desk, whereby everyone else begins to do the same. I mouth the words "what?" to a friend and my buddy shrugs. The teacher then stands up front and, just like every day, goes over the rest of the week's plan and duties, which are changing hands. But not without saying, now that that rude interruption is over with, my brain catches up at this point and I realize everything that just happened. His favorite students are laughing and chuckling, and everyone not my 3 friends is amused and whispering. I remember all the times this guy has been a dick to me in class. The times he sits at his desk reading the fucking paper while I'm sanding or cleaning his fucking car for a passing grade. He's the guy that before a long weekend would have us wash his personal vehicle after going off-roading, but tell us not to wash his plates so that he could get on the express highways for free. I'm now furious. He gets to the end of his monologue, which I've listened to none of. My friend, who has been watching me and I guess saw my face transform from confusion to fury, is shaking her head trying to stop me, and then he asks, "Are there any other questions?" Without giving a second's hesitation, I turn and say, "Yeah, what's wrong with looking out a window?" The kids around me lose it and start laughing. The teacher, on the other hand, is now fully furious. "What did you just say?" I asked. "What is wrong with looking out a window?" "Office." Now, I threw out a few obscenities and went. I was expelled for disrespecting a teacher. A guy went absolutely insane on the first day of school. The campus for our school is large. Instead of building multiple floors, they just sprawled outward. In total we had 4 buildings. The story starts in the building furthest away from the main building. This kid stood up from his desk in first period and started yelling profanities at the kid next to him. He was yelling so loud that people in other classrooms could hear him. The teacher tried to get him to calm down and stop yelling. The kid was having none of it and punched the teacher in the face and ran out of the classroom. Now he was loose in the building. He started banging on doors. Most teachers locked their doors and screaming profanities as he ran. He eventually found an unlocked door and went in. Nobody was in the room at the time, thankfully. He threw desks and chairs around. He tore things off the walls and managed to rip the whiteboard of the wall. After that, he left that building and went to the next. He continued banging on door while screaming. The school resource officer was in that building and tried to stop the kid. The kid headbutted the officer so hard in the face that the officer almost blacked out. He got out of that building, but not before breaking a window. He moved into the next building. He, somehow, got worse in the time between buildings. He was actively trying to find people to hurt. A couple people were out in the hall when he walked in, and he went after them. He grabbed the guy by the arm and knocked him to the ground and started kicking him in the face and chest. The other student tried to run away, but the kid grabbed her by her hair and knocked her to the floor too. She only received one kick to the stomach before the kid was moving again. He found another unlocked classroom and tore it apart. Then he stumbled into the computer room. He smashed every screen and threw all the modems into a pile in the middle of the room and peed on them. He finally made his way to the main building and was stopped by the officers waiting there for him. It took 4 grown men to get him on the floor. It was one of the scariest times in my school. The people he attacked were alright. They were all seen by an EMT or taken to the hospital. He ended up in a mental health facility and has since gotten better. A kid in my class was expelled on the first day because he walked in wearing a shirt that said "I don't want to effing be here" in big bold letters. It wasn't just the shirt that caused the expulsion. The previous year he had pulled several pranks and gotten into a few fights. One of his worst fights put a kid in the hospital for 2 days. We were all wondering why he wasn't expelled after that. I guess the school district was trying to give him a chance to turn around and make good choices. He was warned that this year it wouldn't be tolerated anymore. He didn't care. He was expelled that day. We had a group of students expelled on the first day. This group of 5 students had gathered in the student parking lot, which is behind the school, and had gotten very high. They smoked weed behind the school and decided to try and go about their day. They might have made it if someone hadn't ratted them out. They were gathered in the office during 3rd period. The entire group was expelled that day. All of the parents showed up at the same time to collect their children. I was lucky enough to be going to the office at the time. Kids were crying. Parents were yelling. The principal was trying to keep one father from beating his son. It was a sight to behold. My 4th year teaching, we had to delay the first day of school by 2 weeks. We received an anonymous shooting threat the day before the scheduled first day. We pushed it a couple days, but we received another threat. The police were still trying to figure out where the threat was coming from. They were sent from a throwaway email from the local library. They couldn't figure out who it was. The person was using different library card numbers to use the computers, most likely jumping on before someone's time was up. Eventually, he was caught. He was expelled and arrested shortly afterwards. Update: he did go to jail, but he didn't do much time. He now works at a computer shop. I do believe he is still on some watch list somewhere. I work in an elementary school, and we had one student who was expelled the first day. He was one of my students, so I was witness to most of what happened. The day started with him being disruptive. He wouldn't stop talking. I put him in timeout and went back to teaching. After a few minutes, one of my other students started yelling that he was peeing in the corner. I told him to stop and go to the bathroom. He just ignored me and sat in the timeout chair. I went over to the phone to call the principal to come get him. While my back was turned, he got up and grabbed a girl and tried to drag her over to where he had just peed. She started screaming and crying. I separated them quickly. Thankfully, the principal came in shortly after that and took the kid to the office. I found out later that he had only gotten worse once he was in the office. He peed on the principal's desk. He took off all his clothes and tried to rub himself against the secretary's leg. He bit the vice principal when she pulled him off the secretary. He bit her hard enough to draw blood. He was expelled that day. I found out later that the kid had had a mental breakdown because his mother had died in front of him. My brother managed to get expelled from school at the tender age of 15. Why? He and one of his friends decided to pull a prank on the first day of school. They filled up a bunch of garbage cans with water and set them up at the top of the stairs. It was a main stairwell of the school. When the bell rang, everybody started heading up the stairs, and my brother and his friend tipped the garbage cans over and washed everybody down the stairs. Nobody was seriously injured, but there were definitely some bruises. My brother and his friend took off down the hall and went to class. I'm not entirely sure how they got caught. I think he said someone told on them. They were pulled from class and told to gather all their belongings. They were brought into the office and told they were being expelled. My brother told the principal that it was his idea and his friend had been trying to stop him. He convinced the principal that he should be the only one expelled. My brother and that guy are still friends to this day. I spent nearly every day of my 9th grade year being bullied physically, emotionally, and psychologically. On multiple occasions, I wound up in the school sick bay with cuts, bruises or black eyes. Complaints by me and my parents to the school and state education body yielded little to no intervention. One of the bullies was a teacher's son. I kept my head down for the rest of the year. Over the summer I learned to box. I also took up swimming and playing football, which helped me gain muscle. I knew my time would come. On the first day the bully mentioned above approached me as I was sitting against a wall. He kicked a basketball at my head, tipped my lunch out, and spat in my face. I stood up, was laughed at, and then I smacked him in the face so hard that he swallowed one of his front teeth and fell backward down a set of 10 or so stairs. His mother, the teacher, walked around the corner right as her son hit the bottom of the stairs. I was told to leave. We had one girl in my year that was known for being easy. She had done almost every guy in our year and half of the year above us. I'm not entirely sure how she never got caught, as she was often in the school bathrooms while screwing the guys. She didn't get caught the entire year. Over the summer, she must have gotten comfortable with not having to listen out for teachers. She got caught on her knees in the boys' bathroom with a freshman. She would have only gotten a suspension, but the kid had spilled the beans about her screwing everyone in the bathrooms last year. Her mother was called immediately. The girl's mother screamed at her in the middle of the main hallway. She called the girl all sorts of names and told her that she wasn't going to be staying in her house acting like that. Then she slapped the girl across the face. Child services was called. So not only was this girl expelled from school, she was also likely going to be removed from her home. It was not a good day for her. My dad told me the story of a buddy of his getting expelled the first day of school. The guy had been drinking, underage, the night before. He woke up for school and decided to keep drinking. He mixed some liquor into Gatorade and got on the bus. He drank the entire bottle on the ride to school. He showed up completely plastered. He tried to act normally and make it through the day. He didn't make it very far. It all fell apart when he fell down the stairs and took a couple students with him. A teacher was helping him up and smelled the alcohol on his breath. He was taken immediately to the office. The principal yelled at him and called him an idiot. My dad's friend didn't like that and started yelling back at him. He threatened to beat up the principal and actually swung at him a few times. The cops were called. He was expelled immediately and the cops took him home. He ended up getting a JED and turned out alright.